Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Stephanie Wolf, and I am the Membership Relations Coordinator at Population Connection. It's terrific that everyone here is eager to learn more about our one-of-a-kind population education program, particularly the annual World of 8 Billion student video contest. To further explore our population education program, which we often refer to as Pop Ed, I am joined by Barbara Huth, our online learning coordinator. Barbara brings 10 years of classroom experience to support all of our online workshops and online graduate course, and she coordinates the World of 8 Billion student video contest. Additionally, we are joined by Carol Bleasy, Senior Director of Teacher Programs. Carol oversees the day-to-day functioning of the workshop program and has led over 700 workshops in her 10 plus years with Pop Ed. If you have any questions for Barbara or Carol, please drop them in the Q&A box that is found at the very bottom of your screen. We'll try our best to get those questions answered along with any pre-submitted questions answered during the Q&A session. And then for any questions we don't have time to answer live, we will provide written responses along with a recording of this presentation, the presentation slides, and access to the chat box discussion. Now, those are all the housekeeping items from me. At this time, I will send it over to Barbara to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stephanie, and welcome everyone. We're so excited to share what Pop Ed's been up to, especially around the video contest today. So since a lot of our public focus is often on the population education website, our lesson plans and our workshops, we thought we'd feature this webinar on the World of 8 Billion student video contest, since you might not know a lot about it. So just a little background about the student video contest. The World of 8 Billion student video contest encourages students to think critically about global issues and consider their role in forming solutions and grow as global citizens. The contest challenges students to create a 1-minute video connecting to a global topic to population growth and propose a sustainable solution. And the topics change every year. I'm going to share the topics from last year, and then we'll also share the topics for this year. So you can see kind of the variety of topics that the contest features. And the contest is open to students anywhere in the world. And though the videos must be in English or include English subtitles, it is open globally. And then middle and high school students in grades 6 through 12 can participate, or the international equivalent. And the contest opens every September with 3 new global topics. And students can receive prizes up to $1,200 for their winning videos. But we try to reward as many students as possible. So we reward about 80 students or more student videos each year. So just a little background about last year's global topics. So our 3 global topics were child well-being, rainforest ecosystems, and sanitation. And child well-being encompasses anything that makes children healthy, safe, and happy. So this could be related to their education, the food they eat, what their home is like, who cares for them, and so much more. And many of these areas are greatly dependent on children's access to resources, the safety of their communities, and the reliability of the services around them. Rainforest ecosystems are the oldest living ecosystem on our planet, and these unique habitats are so important for the health of our planet. They also regulate climate by absorbing solar radiation and carbon dioxide, and they provide us clean air and water. They're home to half of the planet's plant and animal species, and they provide resources humans depend on. And then finally, our last topic last year was sanitation. And people often think of sanitation as just toilets and sewers, but there's systems in place for handling human waste. But that's only half of it. The other half is clean water and the available for drinking and cleaning. Sanitation and clean water access are actually recognized by the United Nations as a human right. So this is just a really important topic that we covered last year. All of our global topics are connected often to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So just a few examples of how last year's contest topics connected to those SDGs. Child well-being is connected to SDG 3, or good health and well-being. And rainforest is connected to SDG 15, so life on land. And then sanitation is connected to the SDG 6, which is clean water and sanitation. So through through their videos, students raise awareness about the importance of addressing these SDGs and hopefully inspire others to take action globally. Okay, so let's get into a few stats about the contest. For last year, we had over 3,000 videos created, and last year was our 14th year in the contest. This year is our 15th year, so you can see like over the time of the contest, we've had so many students participating. And in a few minutes, we're going to see the top videos for middle and high school for each of the categories. But 1/3 of all of our submissions were from middle school students and 2/3 were from high school students. And we had nearly 5,000 students participating last year. And last year we had the most different countries participating in the contest, with 67 different countries participating and 45 US states participating. And then you can see that the topics were tackled somewhat evenly. We had about a bit more than a third were on child well-being, and then about a third of the videos were submitted on rainforest ecosystems, and then just slightly less for sanitation. So last year we also had almost 300 classroom teachers lead the contest in their classrooms, which was amazing to see. And so to include more teachers in classrooms in the contest for a second year in a row, we're offering mini grants to provide some financial support for teachers to purchase resources, from video cameras or microphones to film editing subscriptions, to lead the contest in their classrooms. And Population Connection as a whole is committed to DEIJ, and these mini grants help uphold our core values and create an inclusive environment for more classrooms to participate in the contest that might not otherwise have the means to do so. So just a couple stats on that. Last year we had 17 teachers use the grant funding to support over 500 students in creating videos for the contest, and we're hoping to award more teachers this year. So currently, the mini grant is only open to US teachers, but we're also hoping to open the grant up to teachers globally in the future. And then I wanted to give a shout out to our judges. We have a fantastic group of judges each year that contribute their time. So I wanted to give a shout out of gratitude to the individuals who served as judges for the contest last year, and you can see them on the slide. We also feature them on the winners pages of the contest, so you can always see who's judging the contest each year. And last year we had judges from all over the US, from Ethiopia, Canada, Italy, India, the Netherlands, UK, France, Peru, Australia, Kenya, Indonesia, just to name a few of the countries that participated in the judging. So in addition to professional educators, judges are also experts in the 3 topic areas, as well as filmmaking. And we really couldn't, do the contest without their support and time and talent. So we just always want to give a shout out to those judges. All right, and now I wanted to feature our top 6 winners from last year and talk a little bit about the inspiration behind their videos. So last spring, we held a film screening celebration for the top winning students, their parents, and their teachers. So we have some like firsthand comments from the student winners about why they created their videos and some of the things that they learned throughout the process. So I will get started with our first video, which was the first place rainforest ecosystems video for high school. So I'm going to play that video.
Rainforests are losing biodiversity, facing habitat destruction, and failing as carbon sinks, further intensifying climate change. The primary culprit, globalization, the increasing interdependence of the world's economies and populations, which is accelerated by rapid population growth and the growing demand for commodities. Rainforests in the Amazon Congo Basin in Southeast Asia are cleared for agriculture, logging, and oil extraction, causing soil degradation and river pollution. With 135 million hectares of rainforest now oil and gas blocks, this escalating damage demands solutions to restore these vital ecosystems. Co-metabolic bioremediation offers a solution by using microorganisms to break down harmful pollutants while metabolizing other substances for nutrients. This process restores water quality, supports soil health, and aids reforestation by promoting nutrient cycling. Being natural and resource efficient, bioremediation minimizes disruption to ecosystems while addressing pollution at a low cost. Bioremediation offers a sustainable way to restore our rainforests and create a future where economic growth and environmental preservation coexist.
So as Barbara mentioned, that was the first place winner in our rainforest ecosystem category of high schools. So Hannah and Anwitha, they're 10th graders from Santa Clara, California. And these are a couple of the notes that they had made to share during our student screening celebration. So both of the girls, their favorite class is biology. They're really interested in ecosystems and their interconnectedness. And they agreed that the creativity needed to create their videos, specifically the illustrations and the animation, was a highlight for them. They did all of those drawings themselves. They did all the animation themselves. So that was definitely a new skill that they were doing. And I will say, I remember talking with them, and they said that the next time they made a video, they had some takeaways on things that would make it a little bit more efficient, but they did a really great job. And Lisa and Hannah, in their classes, they talked about how in their classes they've learned about population growth, and part of that has included the impact population growth has on rainforest ecosystems. But they mentioned that they learned so much more in depth on the topic when they started researching for their video. And we're surprised that global population is one of the biggest contributors to pollution in rainforests. It contributes to decreased ecological stability and biodiversity loss. So bioremediation was what they wanted to combat this destruction with. And we asked all of the students or what they hoped people would take away from their video. And Hannah and Witha mentioned that while the growing population is inevitable, which I would argue is not the case, but action is possible and necessary. So those were our first place winners for rainforest ecosystems for high school. And now we'll stick with rainforest ecosystems, but the middle school winning video.
In 2022, 4.1 million hectares of rainforest were destroyed, releasing carbon dioxide equal to India's annual fossil fuel emissions. Through degradation and fire usage, rainforest deforestation accounts for 20% of our global greenhouse gas emissions. Rainforest land has declined from 2.1 to 1.84 billion hectares from 1980. Interestingly, there is an inverse relation with the increase in carbon emissions from 0.6 to 2.7 gigatons. The impact? More hurricanes, fires, and droughts, as well as future global $1 trillion losses per year. A growing population means the demands for rainforest resources will also grow. Currently, 80% of our world's diet originates from the tropics, so as the world's population increases, it directly stresses our rainforests. A type of farming called agroforestry involves integrating trees with agriculture and animals, offering a solution. This method annually sequesters up to 0.31 billion metric tons of carbon and has a crop yield increase of 34%. This solution also supplies incomes to millions of farmers through its adaptability to various plant species. With government support, we can change the way we sustain our population while protecting our rainforests.
All right, so Alicia Wald was our middle school winner for rainforests, and she is from Santa Fe, New Mexico. She chose rainforest deforestation because she had seen the rainforest disappear over time when she visited her family in Malaysia. So she had firsthand experience of this happening, and she really cared about this topic. She wanted to tell a strong story, so she focused on meaningful images throughout her video. And she was also really, really into data. So she incorporated a lot of data, analyzed a lot of data, even did a lot of work in her math class to provide more data in her video because she only had 1 minute to tell her story. She also was really surprised that rainforest deforestation doesn't just impact the communities that the rainforests are in, but it affects everyone globally by adding carbon emissions into our atmosphere because, rainforests are such great carbon sinks. And she really hopes that people can take away that fact that rainforest deforestation affects everyone, right? And it adds to the dangers of climate change as a whole. So now we're going to get into our next topic, which was child well-being, and we're going to look at our first place winner for child well-being for high school.
As the global population surpasses 8 billion, the demand for children's vaccinations only increases. Yet, in 2023, 14.5 million children under the age of 1 did not receive basic vaccinations against severe and fatal diseases, such as polio, rotavirus, tinnitus, and measles. Over half of these children came from just 10 countries. Lower-income rural areas struggle with limited or unstable power supplies, making it difficult to keep vaccines refrigerated at temperatures of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Yet, recent technology provides a promising solution: solar-powered vaccine refrigerators. Solar fridges use photovoltaic cells to convert sunlight, a much cheaper and accessible energy source, into electricity, powering a compressor that cools the refrigerator. In South Sudan, solar fridges increased immunization coverage of young children from 46 to 73% in just 3 years. The potential of solar refrigerators is immense, allowing vaccines to even reach the most remote and vulnerable populations, ultimately allowing our children to blossom into healthy leaders of our future.
So Hajin, she lives in Connecticut, and she was really interesting to speak with as well. She also, similar to Hannah and Anwitha, she did all of the illustrations herself. She did hers entirely on her iPad, and then did all the editing on there as well. And Hajin has an interesting background. She's very mature for her age, and speaks very intelligently about the need for vaccinations among the population of young people. And it's interesting, I have to say, to talk to her about it in our current climate. But she specifically is interested in barriers to vaccination access in rural communities. So she is hoping to learn more and share more about equitable healthcare. So she mentioned that she's excited to keep using video and filmmaking as a tool for science communication and for advocacy. That she wants to continue making them on important topics because it was just so fun and powerful and a way to reach people that seems really timely. So that was some of what she said. Similar, again, we asked for her takeaways, and she mentioned again to be hopeful. And also with her, this idea of innovation and what technology might bring. The idea of a solar fridge as a solution to unequal vaccination access is really unique in that it's not about the medicine itself, right? It's about the transportation and the supply chain and whatnot. So she did a great job. And moving on, we'll look at our next video from the child well-being category, but this will be our first place winner from middle school.
According to the United Nations, the global population has reached 8 billion in 2022. More people means fewer.
Hey, Barbara, it's really, really quiet.
Families struggle to provide, and children are left behind. Imagine if your future depends on what's inside this box, but when you open it, there's nothing in it. For millions of children, their boxes are empty. No proper educational support, lack of healthy meals, and insufficient health provision. As the world's population grows, it's getting harder to fill those boxes. But we can change this by investing in schools, sustainable farming, and healthcare means that every child's box can be full. The future depends on what we put inside.
Let's build a box for every child!
All right, so our winners Ismatullah, Yolduz, and Rakshana are from Uzbekistan, and they actually attended the film screening celebration even though it was at 3 a.m. During the time that we did it. So they had to get special permission from their boarding school so that they could share the inspiration behind their videos with us. So it was a real pleasure to have them at the film screening and to learn from them. And they chose child well-being as their topic because they wanted to create a video on something that they were familiar with, and also because they know that child well-being challenges are global. So they really wanted to find some solutions. And their research gave them a deeper understanding of inequitable access to resources that many children face all over the world, and how a growing population can increase these inequalities. But their favorite part of creating the video was just how each group member was able to contribute their strengths in creating the video. So they kind of talked a little bit about those strengths. So Rakshana was the actor in the film. She had been in drama club and brought performance skills to the video. Ismatullah, filming and editing was his strength, and he had years of experience making videos, releasing short films for his school's social media channels. So he was just really excited to participate in the competition. And then Yolduz led script writing and had a background in creative writing. So she added depth to the script and visuals. So they were all just really enjoyed the fact that they could apply their diverse talents and work collaboratively to produce such a meaningful piece of content that could be shared globally. All right, so we're going to look at our final category from last year, and that winner for our first place sanitation category in high school. So I'm going to play that video.
It's hard to move around some parts of Kampala, Uganda's capital, without stepping in feces or jumping over unsanitary filthy areas. About 14.6 million Ugandans practice open defecation. That's like everyone in New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago combined without access to toilets. Open defecation contaminates water, causing diseases like diarrhea, which kills 33 Ugandan children under 5 every day. Women and girls also face increased risks of sexual assault while seeking for privacy for defecation. Let me show you the interiors of pit latrines used here. They are deplorable, as bad as defecating in the open. Efforts to combat open defecation face challenges like limited funding, cultural resistance, and lack of awareness. Uganda's rapidly growing population, about 1.5 million people added every year, intensifies the strain on inadequate sanitation infrastructure. However, ethical solutions, such as providing access to family planning, educating girls for long, can help address this root cause. Sustainable solutions include community-led sanitation programs, education on hygiene practices, and investment in latrine construction. In Kamwenge, Western Uganda, simply informing people of the health risks has already changed behavior and reduced open defecation.
Lynette is from Uganda, and also middle of the
And I
night
came across
when
the
we
same
did
person.
our film screening, and so she was not able to join us. However, she did send a video greeting that we were able to share. So we thought we'd share that with you all here today. I'll just mention that all of the footage in her film, she filmed that herself. So that's all from things that she's experienced. She did the filming and the editing. But we'll go ahead and play her greeting so she can tell you a little more about it.
When I came across the sanitation category, I was like, why not make a video about it? Because this is something I witness every single day in my community. Creating the video made me feel both emotional and empowered. It gave me a voice to raise awareness about the different difficulties many people around me face, especially when it comes to open defecation and poor lack of proper facilities. We can prioritize sanitation, and this means having access to clean water and soap, education awareness about open defecation, safe and private latrines and toilets. Thank you.
So now we will go to our final video, which will be our final category, I should say, which will be the sanitation category.
All right, so we're actually going to see the middle school sanitation video. They're our first place winners, and so I'm going to play that now.
Unlike in forests, where soil absorbs rain, cities are covered in concrete, forcing water into storm drains. As it moves, stormwater collects oil, bacteria, and microplastics, carrying them into our rivers and oceans, harming wildlife and contaminating drinking water. With over 8 billion people on Earth, cities are growing rapidly, straining sanitation, infrastructure, and increasing water contamination. I'm at the UCLA Sea Lab, and I'm going to show you how nature filters water. This column, filled with compost and sand, removes pollutants from runoff water. The results? Water free of most contaminants, including microplastics. As cities expand, we need sustainable solutions like rain gardens, permeable pavements, and green roofs to manage stormwater and protect drinking water. More people means more wastewater. My goal is to expand student-led green infrastructure initiatives, applying UCLA Sea Lab research. Join me and advocate for green infrastructure in your community.
Oh, Barbara, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. I know you were excited to hear what I was going to say. So a little bit about our winners here. David and Danny are from Manhattan Beach, California. And they chose sanitation because they had firsthand experience of a sanitation challenge happening in their area where they live. So the topic, once again, was very personal to them, but they also felt like they could make a change directly. So they were inspired by the contest to kind of act on a solution to this challenge that they were seeing. They were surprised to see that over up to 10 billion gallons of polluted water could run off into the oceans from Los Angeles daily, and that population growth can contribute significantly to the pollution that's running off into the oceans. And one of their favorite parts of the process of creating their video was actually filming at the UCLA Sea Lab. And they actually reached out to the Sea Lab to, see if they would let them come and do some testing that you saw in the video. So they took the initiative to reach out to them and let them know what they were doing and got access to be able to do some testing at Sea Lab. So I thought that was pretty incredible. And they really hope that their video creates more awareness about stormwater pollution. But they also really wanted people to understand that sometimes solutions can be simple or nature-based solutions, but they can make a really big difference. So that's the end of our top 6 winners. I hope you really enjoyed watching their videos. I've seen them so many times, and I still just get really excited to see the videos that they created. So now that we've seen some of the incredible videos that were created for last year's topics, I wanted to introduce you to the topics that students are working on videos for this year. So this year, our global topics are energy, wetlands, and economics. And every year, human population issues are central to the contest, but the 3 global topics will change. So you can see what global topics we've done historically on our website. But these are the topics that you'll see winners for next spring. And just a little background about these topics. Energy is essential in our everyday lives for building communities. And it's not globally accessible to everyone, though. So also, almost all energy comes from burning fossil fuels, which can cause pollution, climate change, and habitat loss. With wetlands, they're diverse, water-saturated ecosystems that maintain water quality and prevent flooding and store atmospheric carbon. Students are learning that they've been long destroyed and just how crucial it is that we protect them. And then finally, economics. We often think of economics, we think of money, but students are learning that economics is also the management of resources in a manner that enables economic development while also considering the impacts of that economic development on health and well-being of people. So every year, we really try to think about the SDG connections to our global topics. So just like last year, this year, our global topics connect to those sustainable development goals. So energy directly connects to SDG 7 for affordable and clean energy. Wetlands is directly connected to SDG 15, which focuses on protecting and restoring land, forests, and biodiversity. And specifically, wetlands are covered in 15.1, which really focuses on freshwater ecosystems. And then finally, economics connects to SDG 8, which focuses on decent work and economic growth, which balances social equity and economic growth with decent work, responsible resource use, and reduced inequalities globally. So we have research backgrounders for students about these global topics, and they explain all of them. And then they also give these connections to sustainable development goals. But they also provide what we call subtopics that help students break down these really complex, large topics into smaller pieces so they can think about how they could create a 1-minute video on some of these really large topics. And something exciting this year, we also have our backgrounders in Spanish, so students are able to download them straight from our website. But just to show you an example of what these look like, escape. I downloaded so many times. You can see we have like an overview of the topic, and then we have lots of facts and information on some of the subtopics as well. So students can explore a lot of information on each of the global topics, learn about them, and then decide what they want to create their video on. Okay. All right, so I just want to give you a little overview of the contest timeline. The contest opened on September 3rd this year, and we actually accept submissions on a rolling basis until March 4th, 2026. And winners will be announced on May 19th, 2026. So stay tuned for our next group of global change makers, which will be featured on the contest website. So you'll be able to see all of the winning videos on these 3 topics on May 19th. So stay tuned for that. And then we wanted to show you a little bit about the resources that teachers have to support teaching the contest in the classroom. We have a wide range of things to support teachers, from connections to AP classes. So we have a lot of connections to AP Environmental Science, AP Human Geography, and AP Biology for the contest. We also, the contest fits in so many classes. So beyond those topics, we have like science, social studies, English language arts teachers, media and tech teachers. So many different teachers participate with their students. We also provide blogs with additional helpful tips and updated content for teachers. So we're constantly adding resources for teachers. A lot of times they'll email us with some things that would be helpful. So we're always thinking about like, how can we support educators in participating with the contest with their students. And then we have lesson plans to help students build background knowledge on each of the global topics we have each year. So these are from Population Education's great library of lessons. And we feature 1 middle school and 1 high school lesson for each of the topics. And these activities help generate students' interest in the contest topics and also expand their foundational content knowledge before filming. So all of these resources are on the contest website and really help teachers get ready and help build student knowledge to participate in the contest. So next, Carol is actually going to do a demo of one of the featured population education lessons, Hill of Beans. And this lesson helps students build knowledge around one of this year's global topics, economics. And in this lesson, students are going to compare the wealth of an average person living in the US to a person living in Central African Republic. And this lesson really helps students understand important economic concepts, including gross national income, purchasing power parity, and wealth inequality. And then wealth data is uniquely shared in this lesson, and it's shared using sound. And this can help spark creative ideas for students to present their data in videos. And that's what we're hoping with this lesson.
So Hill of Beans, as Barbara mentioned, we're going to perhaps introduce, but if not introduce, reinforce some of these economic terms that students are most likely learning in their semester economics class. Gross national income at purchasing power parity. That is a mouthful, but that is what we actually will be, that is a statistic that we will actually be looking at with this activity. So what do those two things mean? Gross national income, or GNI, it is more commonly used at this point than GDP, gross domestic product. That might be something that you are perhaps a little bit more familiar with, but GNI is similar. It's a measure of a nation's wealth. And ultimately, it should equal the total domestic and foreign income that is claimed by the residents of that particular country. Purchasing power parity, that is meant to account for price differences between countries, making wealth comparisons more accurate. So it's a method of converting currencies to show value in US dollars. So the power that currency has to purchase goods. So we don't want to compare US currency to another country's currency. We want to look at the GNI PPP so that as we're making these comparisons, they're more accurate. It's a bit more apples to apples. So in this particular activity, students will look at a couple different things. We'll look at per capita average wealth, and we determine this by taking a country's GNI, and rather than keep saying GNI PPP, I'm just going to say GNI. By taking a country's GNI and dividing it by that country's population, because that would take the country's GNI. If we divide it by every person who's there, that would be if the GNI was divided equitably among all people, which of course it is not, but that's how we'll get that number. And then we also in this activity consider a person's lifetime wealth. So to find that, we take the average wealth and we multiply it by the average life expectancy within that country. Okay, so first I want to share with you some numbers, and this is exactly what we would be doing in a classroom setting with our high school students. So if we look at the entire world and we look at the per capita GNI of the entire world, it is $17,587. So that is taking the 8.2 billion people living on the planet. The global life expectancy of our global population is 73 years. So if we do that calculation of average lifetime wealth, it gets us about $1.3 million. So that is the average amount of wealth an individual person will experience in their lifetime. Again, we are taking 8.2 billion people and making all of these averages. So this is just meant to give a macro overview for some comparison's sake, okay? Okay, so that is global level. Now what we're going to do is look at one of the wealthiest countries in the world, also happens to be where we're located, the United States. So in the US, the per capita GNI is about $66,000. The life expectancy in the US, average life expectancy is 79 years. So lifetime wealth in the US is roughly $5.2 million. Okay, so we have the world, we have a very wealthy country, and then we're going to compare that with one of the poorest countries in the world, the Central African Republic. So their per capita GNI in US dollars is 1,060. The life expectancy in the Central African Republic is 53 years. So their lifetime wealth is just over $56,000. So of course, you can see that of the three groups, people living in the Central African Republic have the lowest lifetime wealth, about $1,000 per year over their 53-year lives. For some students, and perhaps for some of you in the audience, seeing this data numerically in chart form is really powerful, and it's going to speak to you and it's going to be memorable for you. But that's not always the case for everyone. So in this activity, as Barbara hinted, we give a really creative way of sharing data. And we love to do that with Pop Ed lessons. We love to come up with creative ways, unique, memorable ways to share information and to share data. So now, rather than sharing this data with numbers, what we do in the lesson is we actually share the data using sound, okay? And the way that we make the sound is I have a coffee can, a metal coffee can, and I have also lima beans. Okay, so what we do in the classroom is we drop the lima beans into different cans. So we use the beans to make the sound, okay? That's how we portray the data. So the way that we would do this in the classroom is start with our lowest income location. So that's the Central African Republic. And what we are going to do is use one bean. I've got one bean in my little baggie here to make the sound for their lifetime wealth. And then we will use that one bean to proportionally determine the amount to use for the US and for the world, okay? Now, I have some terrible news. We learned when we were practicing with Stephanie earlier today that our computers and Zoom are so technically advanced that they block out background noise. And when I drop my beans into these cans, you can't hear it, which is a total bummer because I was going to have you close your eyes and have the auditory experience that our students would have if we were doing this in the classroom. Because remember, this is not meant to be shared virtually. This is meant to be shared in the front of a room with people. So I instead am just going to tell you that if we were going to do this, the can for the world. Oh, and oh my gosh, I have this on here wrong. My slide deck is, and I put the numbers in my haste. I put the numbers on here wrong. The world would be having 23 beans dropping in. Okay, so you'd hear, well, you can't even hear me do this. The world would be having 23 beans dropping in. The United States would have 93 beans dropping in. And the Central African Republic would have that one bean. So you'd have that pop versus the US, where you can probably imagine, or I hope that you can imagine, the sound of 93 large dry lima beans falling into a coffee can. So it's a different way of sharing the information. And the first one thing we like to ask students is just about the way that they consumed the data. You know, did receiving this information through sound have you react differently than it did when you received the data with numbers? And if so, like, how did it make you feel differently? Did it make you understand it differently? Did it resonate with you in a different way? How did taking in the data in two different formats impact you? Did you receive it differently? From there, we like to talk with students more about what the points that are coming across within the data. So for instance, and there's a bunch of great discussion questions in the lesson plan. I'm just going to share a couple of them with you for our purposes today. But for instance, as someone living here in the United States, how would your life be different if you had the wealth of an average person living in the Central African Republic? And this idea of putting yourself in another person's shoes, if you will, helping students be in positions where they can experience empathy. These are global citizenship skills. And that is something that is at the core of the contest, these global citizenship skills, having students think about not just their community, but their global community and what's going on at that scale. We also ask them to think, are there ways we could increase the quote unquote hill of beans for other countries? So for instance, is there a way that we can increase the number of beans that fall into the different cans? Again, it's a great tie with the contest, which requires students to consider a solution to whatever issue they're tackling and focusing on. So more ways that this is going to prep teachers and their classrooms for participating in the contest. We also ask students to extend their thinking. Some questions that deal with like carrying capacity. So could the world support more people if we all lived with the wealth of an average resident of the Central African Republic? Yes, most likely. Most likely, if we were all using that wealth or had access to that wealth, our resource consumption would be dramatically lower. We most likely would not be creating the same amount of waste. So extraction levels would be lower, pollution levels would be lower. The global carrying capacity would increase. But then you're trading, sort of gets into the second question, would people be better off? We're trading in higher population for a lower level of resource access and resource use. So trying to get students to think about some of these complexities in a way that's accessible, in a way that gives them space for learning and inquiring around topics like wealth inequality that can be obviously complex, but also maybe things that they're scared to talk about or ask questions about at times. So we're trying to lay things out at the table and help students grapple with it. So that's the lesson Hill of Beans. It's one of the 6 lessons that we provide to teachers who are using the contest. That being said, it's one of several hundreds of lessons that population has within our library. So I'm going to transition to tell you a bit about the larger program into which the contest fits. Now, those of you who know Pop Ed, and I hope you do, but if you don't, I'm excited to be the one who gets to share with you that our overall mission is to provide quality trainings, so workshops and webinars, quality trainings and teaching materials for educators to help them teach about population and related topics in their classroom. Beyond that, it is our ultimate goal to prepare young people with the skills and knowledge to be the next generation of global citizens, the next generation of voters and parents and community leaders. So that is why we run the contest. The contest provides a platform for young people to think critically about global challenges related to population growth and share their ideas on how to fix them. And the contest has really, as Barbara mentioned, become a pillar of the population education program. Historically, since the program was started 50 years ago, Marion, thank you for the 50th anniversary shout out, we have been doing teacher workshops, so training workshops for teachers on how to cover these topics in their classrooms. And we have developed teaching materials to support that work. The contest now, as of 2010, has really become that third pillar. And historically, our activities and our workshops, we cover content in science, social studies, we have a lot of math. Since adding the contest, we've been able to really expand our offerings with meaningful connections for English language arts, in speech, debate, creative writing, in communications with classes around broadcast and journalism, media communications, filmmaking. And then any schools that have CTE courses, so career and tech education courses that are often looking for these hands-on or project-based learning opportunities, the contest is a great fit. As a program, population education supports teachers ranging from kindergarten through the 12th grade. So we do workshops for teachers from K to 12. We have materials for teachers K to 12. But the contest, for many reasons, we have decided to focus really just on middle school and high school grades. I can't pass up the opportunity to share a couple photos from our workshops because they're always so fun. Our workshops are held in a variety of different locations. We have them in classes on college and university campuses, in K-12 schools and districts. We have them at teaching conferences, at non-formal education sites. And the audience is teachers. So our workshops, the audience is teachers. Okay, it's not the general public. It's not students. It is educators. They might be future educators. They might be current educators. They might be non-formal educators, but they're educators. The contest has given us a way to really directly engage or connect with students that we previously had not been able to do. So it hopefully goes without saying that the contest is really a wonderful fit for supporting population education's overall mission. First of all, it's used by teachers as a classroom assignment. A lot of the video submissions that come in are submitted because a teacher assigns the contest to everyone in their high school geography class. So we're providing a resource for teachers. But again, individual students can participate. We also have found it interesting that it's been an interesting way for us, or a efficient way, effective way for us to work with homeschool students and homeschool co-ops. So that's been an interesting way of engaging with young people. Another way that the contest really fits into population education as a whole is the international platform. Students are learning from each other. They can see other students from other places around the world that also care about these topics and are sharing their perspectives on them. So, at Population Connection, most of our work is based here in the US, but we do it with the hope of a positive global outcome. So that's what we see happening a lot with the contest and the video creation. It's not only a learning opportunity for students, it's also a platform to amplify their voices on their concerns and the ideas they have about the world that they want to inherit. And the last point I wanted to make was that this is really the type of project that students can lean into. It's student-driven. They can take on a lot of autonomy. There's a lot of student choice. And many students mention that they plan to continue working on the issues that they learned about in their video, even after the completion of the contest. So it's really just a starting point, the contest. It's a jumping off point for what we hope is a lifelong commitment to these issues. I am looking at the time and seeing that it is almost time for us to close. We had put up some feedback from students. We asked them for what they think about participating in the contest. We also asked for feedback from their teachers. I'm going to skip over that because I really want you to know how you can spread the word about the contest, especially if you have young people or educators in your circles?
Yeah, so we have a lot of resources on the website that you can spread the word about the contest, including flyers, social media posts, sample social media posts that you can use, stickers that teachers and students can print off with some like Avery labels to, show that they're making an impact on one of these global topics. So those are all available on the World of 8 Billion website, and we put the link on the bottom of the slide there so you can see that there. And if you know any teachers that are interested in participating in this contest, if you could help spread the word so more teachers know that they have this opportunity, that would be amazing. And then we have a few, we can answer like one or two questions before we sign off. So we had a couple questions that came in before, so I'm going to pick one of those questions to start, and then we'll answer one of the questions that we also had submitted live. So Carol, one question that came in before the webinar was, how do you evaluate PopEd's impact?
That's a great question. Let me I'm not sharing. We're not sharing anymore. Let me pull my screen back up. We take we send out a questionnaire to teachers who have participated in our workshops. There are typically between 10 and 12,000 educators that participate in our workshops annually. And we send out a survey to all of them and ask them what they think about our lessons and about implementation and outcomes. So what you can see, actually, this graph right here is showing how they view our workshops in comparison to other professional learning opportunities that they've had. Here we can see that the vast majority of workshop participants use the materials that they receive, and they consider them either excellent or good. So we see lots of positive results that way. But this is really what I wanted to share. We don't have a good way of directly testing or assessing student outcomes because the topics that we cover are not specific to one course, nor are they something that we have any sort of capacity to do like testing around. That's sort of a good thing. And like, it's a good thing that we're not set into one course, but it does mean that we would have a very hard time doing direct student results. What we can do is ask teachers from their perspective, how they think students have grown and learned from PopEd materials. So you can see that 94% of respondents said that the PopEd materials they used effectively engaged their students. 91% said that the PopEd materials increased students' awareness of population issues. 91% said that they agreed that PopEd materials improved critical thinking or problem-solving skills. So we are constantly looking for feedback from educators to evaluate our workshops, to evaluate our resources. And then, as I briefly mentioned but skipped over, we also ask for feedback from both the teachers and the students that participate in the contest. And it really helps guide the contest the following year. We make changes based on what went well, what didn't go well, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carol. And we'll answer one more question before we sign off. So we had a question, do we have any teachers who are especially dedicated in the contest who assign this project every year? And we certainly do. We have teachers that have been participating in the contest 10 plus years. And we often feature and celebrate those educators on our socials. So, keep in touch with us and stay engaged on social to see some of those teachers as we celebrate them in the spring this year. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining us. Carol and I appreciate you joining us for the last hour, and hopefully you learned a lot about Pop Ed and the World of 8 Billion student video contest. And just keep in touch and reach out. There is a contact us form on the contest website, and you can reach out at that email, and we are happy to answer any questions you might have about the contest. So thank you all so much. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.